Now, with many of the different Star Wars TV shows and films that are currently in development by both Disney and Lucasfilm, we have a lot that's going on also with the books, the novels, comics, and video games. That's all going to really interact with the movies and the TV shows for the canon lore to actually be used by both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that a lot of Star Wars fans have been very excited about has a lot to do with exactly what Lucasfilm is putting together one by one with each and every TV show, pieces of lore when it comes to books and comics that's really going to lend credit to a lot of the TV shows out there. So there's a lot of things happening in between where both Jon and Dave are trying to really build this new universe from the ground up. Now, one thing in particular that a lot of fans have been very excited about is exactly what Jon and Dave actually said a couple of weeks ago of how they will in fact be cherry-picking a lot of aspects from Star Wars Legends and throwing it into the Disney canon, and also using a lot of prequel trilogy-oriented characters to actually return in all of the new Star Wars projects in their own different and unique ways. So that's another thing to really be excited about, is that Jon and Dave from this point on forward will be handling all of the Star Wars lore and the TV shows, etc. Now, of course, we already know that Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 1, Kenobi, of course, specifically, Jon and Dave were not really involved in any of that for the most part. They called a couple of shots here and there, but that was about it. Now, on top of all of this, what's even all the more exciting has a lot to do with one of the fan favorite characters, simply, of course, known as Mace Windu. Now, what's really all the more exciting about this has a lot to do with Samuel Jackson returning in, of course, the Star Wars universe, and how a Lucasfilm spokesperson seems to have accidentally confirmed Mace Windu's return in the overall Star Wars franchise. Now, let's talk about this. Now, on top of all of this, with Mace Windu as one of the most beloved characters in the Star Wars franchise, Lucasfilm creatives behind the scenes have been working on his return into the series for the past number of months now, to provide fans a full explanation of how he survived the fall in Episode 3. Now, further, it's described that in a recent interview with a Lucasfilm spokesperson, Lucasfilm accidentally confirmed the return of Mace Windu into the new Star Wars franchise on Disney+. The Lucasfilm spokesperson eventually went on to state, "We are looking at bringing back many characters into live-action form again. That's really going to allow us to expand on some of the beloved characters. We already have been experimenting with Anakin, Vader, and Kenobi in the latest series, and we are also focused on expanding other characters in other shows, such as Ezra Bridger, Sabine Wren, Mace Windu, and even Ahsoka Tano in ways that fans can't even begin to imagine. We are expanding all of those characters to come back in live action again, and also in animation. It's our job to open up possibilities of what's to come on all of these new installments that are being handled fully by Favreau and Filoni, along with other creatives that will be joining them soon enough." Now, separate from what the Lucasfilm spokesperson said, this all alludes to Mace Windu's return, portrayed by Sam Jackson, for the extension of the Kenobi series, as well as showcasing an elderly version of the character in The Mandalorian Season 4 that is going to be one of the big cameos in the show. Now, let me stop right here for a second. Now, we talked about this big time about 9 months ago of how Sam Jackson as Mace Windu is indeed going to be a big focus in The Mandalorian Season 4. Now, the thing about the extension of the Kenobi series is actually, I think, all the more exciting, because we're going to be getting a more true version of Mace Windu in all of that. Now, given that, of course, everything rooted to new Kenobi episodes is really the big negotiation right now between Disney and Lucasfilm on how exactly they're going to be able to handle that, they're really trying to decide on whether or not they're going to call it Season 2, or if they're just going to extend it as multiple parts, such as Part 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you name it. That, to me, I don't know about you guys, that to me I think is a better approach. Calling it, Part 7, 8, 9, and so on and so forth. That, I believe, is the better route to go through, instead of calling it a Season 2. That's just my take on things, so hopefully they go that route. but that's just how I see things. So, with that being said, however, now Samuel L. Jackson is said to have signed a multi-show contract with Lucasfilm to come back as Mace Windu in a new Star Wars TV show that's focused on him, Mandalorian Season 4 cameos, and appearances in the continued Kenobi storyline as well. This is going to be Lucasfilm's way of explaining more about Mace Windu's survival and the inevitable true death of the character as fans actually hear his voice in Episode 9 speaking to Rey as a Force ghost. Sam Jackson has already been in several meetings with both Jon and Dave Filoni and was supposed to make a big cameo originally speaking in Kenobi Season 1 that was scrapped, which was also going to be used in the Kenobi movie that is now being saved for future episodes. So that's another thing to be aware of, is that Mace Windu was supposed to be a big part of not just Kenobi as a movie, but also in the original scripts of Kenobi Season 1. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago as well. That was all, of course, scrapped by Kathleen Kennedy when she had more creative power back in early 2020. And you can see that obviously they wanted to dwindle down on the cameos. Now, so far in the Kenobi series, we don't really have all that many cameos. Now, we will be getting a lot more toward the end of the series. Alright, so episodes 5 and 6, we're going to be getting a lot more cameos for the Kenobi series, so keep your eye open for that. We actually have one big one on the way for the final episode, and we already talked about that in the previous leaks, but I digress. So, currently, of course, Disney is in negotiations on if they even want to call it an actual Season 2, or if they just want to continue them as parts. Now, Mace Windu is described to have a brand new design in the series, appearing far older with a beard and biomechanical arm that will be very much like this in new episodes and also in The Mandalorian Season 4 as his elderly self in big cameos as well for that show. Sam Jackson is described to begin training for his role very soon by mid-2023. Now, the thing about this, of what, of course, the Lucasfilm spokesperson really made clear, is that they are going to be expanding on characters in live action. Ezra Bridger, Sabine Wren, Mace Windu, and Ahsoka, as they mentioned. I'm not quite sure if they meant to say that, or if that just slipped out, but this most likely alludes to everything in the Ahsoka Tano series. Could this very well mean that Mace Windu is going to have an appearance in Ahsoka as well? That's the biggest question of all, right? We already know that Ezra is going to be a big focus, as well as Sabine, Hera Syndulla, as well as other characters thrown in there. We have a lot of things coming our way. We already know that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in the Ahsoka series. I mean, she's getting a role. So there's a lot of things happening for the Kenobi series and happening for the overall Star Wars universe, so to speak. So that's exactly, what Disney and Lucasfilm are aiming to do. They're really trying to expand all of the fan favorite characters and all of the already established Star Wars characters at heart. And I think it's a smart move on their part. They just got to execute this very well and make sure that it's going to be handled with great care by Favreau and Filoni, which I really do trust them. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.